Hi there, my name is Becc. I'm a spiritual teacher of the process of unfoldment. Today, that's what I want to talk to you about. Within each of us, there is a sacred lotus within our heart that is the perfect blueprint or unfoldment pattern for our consciousness to express itself here and now in the third dimension. When we are looking to heal, what we're really looking to do is actually unfurl or unfold those petals. That can be a challenge here in the third dimension, and especially if you have had a history of traumatic experience. Remembering that trauma is both small and large. The very smallest things that we could think of are traumatic here and now. It's traumatic for a child to get lost in a grocery store. It's traumatic for a parent to tell a child what to do when they don't want to do it. Really, we're talking about anything that creates a friction against who you naturally are in any moment. So we all have this unfoldment process that we are trying to express here, and even energetically on a fifth dimensional and above level, there is a sacred blueprint here, like a geometric structure within your energy, within your heart, that is the unfoldment pattern for the higher self to use. It kind of uses it like a blueprint or a pattern to unfold itself upon and express itself in this dimension. So today I have Angel Gabriel here as well, who's very related to things like this, embodying your truth, your true essence, knowing who you are, healing, because they go hand in hand. And I just wanted to share that with you because his energy is quite palpable and you will be receiving it through this video. I have some notes to the side here as usual. So I wanted to give 3 tips pretty much for this unfoldment process. First, I want to preface by saying that it's totally natural. It's a natural thing. And humans, healing is really actually about getting out of the way of our natural healing expression, of our expression of who we are. Healing is about learning to let go of resistance and surrender into a moment of experience or into your higher self's guidance for you. And we get into like suffering. That's what suffering is, when we resist a moment of experience. So yes, it's totally natural. And each of these steps are your natural way when you are able to say, okay, I'm doing this and I'm going to let my soul guide me. One is that we connect to the heart and the higher self intentionally. Again, this happens naturally if you're already peeling away those layers of conditioning and unhelpful beliefs and things. But this is a doorway to that unfoldment pattern I spoke of. And when you cultivate a connection with the heart, and which is automatically the center of your higher self, you're automatically connected there. You will have a much easier time if you practice this consciously. I have a video on how to connect to the higher self, and that's my recommendation for beginning that practice. And understanding that your heart and your higher self are inseparable. This is the expression of that centered channel of light that is the higher self. That's why it's in our center here. So connecting to the heart relative to this unfoldment process is really about learning that practice of being with heart energy, bringing your consciousness out of here and down into here, and then intuitively listening, which really looks like allowing and stilling our thoughts enough to allow the quiet voice of our heart or higher self to rise into our awareness. And again, that video I mentioned is the perfect practice for that. You can also simply just hold an intention, meditate for a little bit to try to quiet your mind, and then imagine that you're breathing a light in and out of here. or imagine that your heart starts glowing pink. You want to use tools and things that are suitable to you, that you want to use. Some people would want to imagine like an angel full of love holding them. Whatever is natural to you. What this does is this accelerates the ascension process, because you're consciously pulling yourself magnetically into this place of your ascended essence, your essence. And ascension is really just kind of like the expression or embodiment of that essence. So the first thing about unfoldment is connecting to the heart and the higher self. The second most helpful thing is meditation and disidentification. When we meditate, we actually change our magnetics in our energy. Instead of, when thoughts are coming through, they could be looked as like electrical pulses. That's what they are. They're electromagnetic pulses or waves that go through our being, and we can also, they get generated from the energy that we're vibrating at. And when they come through, and we basically, that inner narration is you giving attention to those thoughts, that energetic noise of thought that comes through. And when you use your focus upon it, just by kind of giving it attention, being in it, thinking, the act of thinking, you are charging, you are electrically charging an electrical pulse of whatever thought that might be. Behind the thought, which is really just an expression of human cognition, is a base energy. Like, I mean, a fear thought is I'm scared, and that's just the thought, but the energy is fear. You could be I'm happy, the energy is a type of happiness. So if I pay attention to that thought, I am feeding the base energy, and the base energy starts to feed that thought, and then the thought tends to, as we know, when we think negative thoughts, we start feeling bad. It generates more, and it's like this loop thingy. And it's not good if you are having negative or unhelpful thoughts, thoughts that don't help you cultivate your light and your unfoldment. So what meditation does, as I understand it, is that we pull away that charge out of that impulse. The pulse that's coming through, we are no longer in it. We're no longer giving it life with our energetic focus. We change our position from I'm in it and I'm percolating it, I'm thinking, being a part of it, participating in it. We stop participating in it and we start to observe it. We start to notice, I just thought I'm happy, for example. Or just listening, kind of. We are in an observing state. That observing is what we would call awareness. That awareness, I'm simply aware of what's coming through here. That awareness is your higher self or your essence. And what that does is you are no longer feeding those charges. You're no longer feeding them. And without that kind of energetic food, they dissipate. They can't maintain, because everything is magnetic. Everything is magnetic, and your focus is powerful. Your focus is what you are magnetically pulling in or breathing life into. So essentially, when we meditate in this observer way, we are cultivating a connection with the higher self, actually, just by doing that, which is really cool and helpful. And we are no longer charging unhelpful thoughts. That's why, like monks and things, if you meditate for 1,000,000 years, they sort of end up in a place of no mind or emptiness, because the thoughts have died out, the electricity has died out without that loop going that I mentioned. And that's why we feel things like emptiness, like soulful emptiness and freedom, when we meditate in that observer way. And it actually is pulling us into our life here and now, and we're no longer in the structures of our thought. Thoughts are really just a structure. They're this thing that we kind of get in, and when we get in it, and we're like in it, we're not here and now. That's why they use an anchor of the breath, because the breath is something that's consistent, that I can observe, that's not feeding thoughts, or it's better to focus on here, and it is in the now. That's the key thing. It's in the now moment. So you're not charging these structures that are all, by the way, built on the past, or an anxiety, even about the future. That anxiety is a practiced anxiety from your past. So we really want to get into that observing. And when we do that, we naturally are also kind of practicing disidentification. And that is this realization that if I can observe my thoughts and my feelings, my sensations in my body that go with my feelings, what am I? If I can observe myself being Becc, what is this that is observing in that pure awareness? And that's where we disidentify, which is really another way of saying that withdrawal of magnetic charge into our concept of ourself, even, which is just built on a bunch of different thoughts that create a persona called Becc. So all of that naturally starts to fall away. And this is really helpful for unfoldment, because it's going to help you to listen, have more space to listen to your higher self and your heart. It's going to help free you from all conditionings and patterns that go against what the guidance of your unfoldment pattern is suggesting for you, because you are less and less magnetically charged to them. So you're more and more driven by the magnetics here in your heart. That's where you're radiating your light. That's where you're pulsing. That's where you're resonating and vibrating. And so just like you've practiced all those thoughts and now they're like a big sea of stuff, we are practicing bringing our charge to here. And that's actually a healthy and good place for us to be. And it sort of isn't, charge is no longer the right word, because this is a place of stillness, that loving essence, that awareness. It is the 0 point field of you. It is a place of stillness and nothingness, but complete wholeness. It is your essence. It is life. It is the life that you are. So the next thing is self-forgiveness and compassion. And also truth kind of comes in here. And Gabriel's helping me to explain that to you. In that, Gabriel is saying and helping me, when we're in our identity, and we're really believing the things that we think towards ourselves or about ourselves, we're not in the truth of who we are. We're not even registering like the truth of who or what you are. Who you are could be totally different, like totally different than what you are thinking, because all this stuff is just like these thoughts that go over and over, and you've built a concept. But we need to consider, what if I'm wrong? We need to consider, what if I'm worthy of compassion? What if I'm worthy of self-forgiveness? And in bringing these offerings of self-compassion and self-forgiveness, we start to see the truth of ourselves even more. Because of course the truth of you is someone that is already forgiven, already compassionately loved. And that's what Gabriel's talking about. It's to bring yourself, he's talking about it kind of like it's the eyes of the higher self. It's how your higher self and your spirit guides hold you, how they actually see the truth of you. And that is someone that's already forgiven, already worthy of receiving compassion, and is held in compassion. And so it helps with the unfoldment process, because then we are embodying the higher self essences, such as compassion and forgiveness, to ourselves. And so you start to really be the higher self for yourself in that moment. And you are giving yourself the love that you need. So trying to practice these things in any way that feels good and natural to you is going to really help you unfold into who you actually and truly are. And exposing those layers of unhelpful thoughts through observation and things like that can lead you deeper and deeper into the embodiment of your essence. It is true that sometimes we have very strong charges, thoughts, emotions, and these need the help of a support person, whether that is a therapist or me. I offer unfoldment sessions for people where we're practicing just that, and it's helpful to have a container of light to be in, or even just a supportive friend with some of it. Make sure that you're getting the support that you need as you unfold into your embodied essence, and understand that who you are is already perfect. That's the truth. That's what Gabriel wants us to know right now. Who you are is already whole and complete. It is only, he's saying, it is only in our nature of not seeing this that we get into, he's saying we get into even the need to practice. So we are kind of de-practicing what we've been practicing. We are taking the veil off, he's talking about. We want to see who we truly are. And in doing so, we become able to express and embody the full light of who you are. And that's the type of thing that I love doing. That's why I do the work that I do, because when that happens, and getting to be around someone that's doing that, or in myself, I just start crying from the joy, because it's the joy of the universe. It's the song of light for you to embody your truest essence and be who you truly are. It is an absolute joy that you exist. This unfoldment pattern is your blueprint, and you can learn to access it. Through the heart connection, it will just start to naturally unfold, and through any sessions you might do with me or the course that I'm creating, it's going to be exactly on this, about unfoldment. But these steps that we've talked about today are really going to begin to just make that happen. And you can do it, and I support you 100%.